So I have got the Whalesong eyeshadow palette with me. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that unfortunately 4 of the shades came to me broken and there's a lot of cross-contamination in here. So Samantha, who's the owner of the brand, has kindly said that she's going to send me another one. It's on the way, but I still really want to play with this, even though, yeah, it's a little bit hard to use. But I'm going to go for the shades that aren't actually broken. And I wanted to do something similar to the look that I did with my Nabla palette, the Poison Garden one, except the blue in there wasn't very good. And I think the blues in here look really gorgeous, and I'm hoping they're going to work really well compared to that one. So I am going to pull in another palette. I'm probably going to pull in my Viseart palette as well as this one, just because I want something a little bit more earthy toned and add just like a pop of blue. So I'm going to use this kind of like an accent palette today. I have to be really careful with it because it's super crumbly and I'm just worried it's going to spill everywhere. I hear that there's a lot of stain to this palette. I have carpet on the ground, so I really do not want to get this everywhere. Obviously I've already got my base on, just to save time. Everything in my project pan, as usual, what's in my face is going to be in the description bar below, and it pretty much doesn't change. I've already got eye primer on. I'm using the Hard Candy Ice Limit Primer, and this is the primer I've been using as my go-to primer recently. I'm gonna start off with some Viseart browns. This is my favorite Viseart palette, by the way. I'm just gonna use like one of the mid-tone brown shades to just put that all over my eyelid, just to give my eyelids some color. Using this massive Chikuhodo brush. Still need to do my eye brush declutter at some point, but I have so many eye brushes that it's probably gonna be a really long video, and yeah. But I will get to that at some point. Next, I am going to take the deepest brown in this palette. This is the Dark Matte Brown. It's the one I have the biggest dint in because I tend to use this shade the most. Yeah, this is my go-to kind of warm tone brown palette. And then for cool tone browns, I love my Dose of Colors Pretty Cool palette. I just love that palette so much. It sits in my everyday makeup bag. And just blend it out with the other brush. Do the same thing on the other side, just keeping that brown kind of in the outer V to give the eye some dimension. Let me know, have you got this palette? Did any of you pick it up? I saw that they came out as well with a new palette recently for pre-order, the Violet Ink palette, and I was so tempted to pick that up. It looks stunning and I love purples. I just find that it does complement brown eyes quite well. But the only thing that really stopped me was the $35 shipping. Like, I forgot how much shipping is, and obviously they're an indie brand, so they're not getting, you know, the discounts on pricing. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit sad because otherwise I would pick up that palette. Honestly, I would pick it up because it looks stunning. I'm going to put a little bit of that same brown onto the lower lash line too. I feel like that's really normal. Like for most indie brands, shipping is extraordinary. And that's just how it is. Like when there's free shipping option, that is really, really good because it's really expensive to get most things to Australia. And to send anything from Australia anywhere else is expensive too. Now I am gonna use that blue shade. I'm gonna use Breaching, which is the deepest matte blue in this palette. I'm gonna use a brush that I can create a line with. It's a nice navy blue. Apparently, ooh, there's staining and there's fallout. Probably best to do your base, but I just feel like most days now I do my base first because it just saves time. I don't know. Yeah, there's a ton of fallout. This is a beautiful blue and it's going on really pigmented too. I'm thinking of letting go of my Nabla palettes. Those two that I recently did 3 looks with, just because I have a lot of the shades in there already, and the ones that I do like, I feel like I've got better formulas. I don't know, I'm still contemplating that. I have not tackled my eyeshadow palettes yet in terms of decluttering, because I am doing a declutter series at the moment, and that's just something I have yet to tackle because it's a big piece. I've got tons of palettes. I did a palette collection video like in 2017 and I did have quite a lot, and since then it has expanded quite a bit, and I don't really want to create more room in my storage for more palettes. I feel like I'm at that point that if I want to bring something in, I need to let go of something. So I'm going to clean that up a little bit. I don't think it was not too crazy. It hasn't left like a blue stain on my face that I can see. But I think that's what I'm going to do. I love this blue, and I mean that you could really do this with any of the shades in here, like the greens and, you know, I think that would look equally beautiful. And you know what? Maybe I'll be a little bit adventurous and take another color. Maybe I'll take Barnacle and just add that on the inner corner and just like create a slight gradient. Maybe that might be fun, because otherwise it's, I've just used one shade and that's probably not what you want to see. Although if you're watching me, you're probably not here for super colorful eye looks, because I don't always do that. I'm sure I'll do more once I am on maternity leave, because I'm actually going to work today. So I need to look somewhat professional. So I want to add a little bit more blue. I'm going to add some Kiko blue mascara, some Kiko long lasting shadow stick. I'm going to pop that on my lash line as well as the bottom. Curl my lashes using my trusty Suku lash curler. This is the best lash curler I've ever used. Tried lots, and I really like this one. And then let's put some blue mascara on. I actually really love blue mascara, which reminds me of like the 90s. I think colored mascara is kind of coming back in a small way. So this is the finished look. I've added Go Lightly from Lisa Eldridge. This is a lusciously lucent lipstick that I recently did a swatch video on. If you want to check that out, leave it in the cards. I just really blotted it down because I just wanted something bright and fresh on the lips to contrast with more of that smoky dark eye, and I really like it. Sorry if this is like quite same to what I've done, because I have done a similar look with the Nabla palette, but I just wanted to do this again and try these blues as liner, and I think this blue definitely works so much better than the one from Nabla. It's just more pigmented. As far as I can see, it hasn't oxidized, which the Nabla one does. It kind of gets deeper over time. Obviously, this is the first time I've tried this palette, so I don't know how well it's gonna wear. I will give you an update on that. So yeah, I really like this look. This is the kind of look I could do every day, which is why I'm doing it again. So yeah, I hope you like it. Let me know what you think. I have got my replacement palette, and I'm very, very grateful for that, because I was actually really sad that it came like that, and you know, the customer service was great. So I'm gonna play with this today again. When Jackie came over, she really enjoyed playing with this shade Kelp, because she said that it reminds her of like a matcha color. I think I'm gonna do something maybe with this and some other blues. So I've already got primer on as usual. I've got my hard candy primer on, and I'm gonna take Bubble Net, which is this dark forest green. It looks gorgeous. Jackie did actually say that these shades stain, and from everyone that I've kind of seen videos on this, these shadows are supposed to stain your eyelids. So I didn't really notice that the first time I used this. So I'm gonna pay more attention this time. I'm going to just add this into the outer V as well as the inner corner. I think I'm gonna do some sort of like gradient halo eye. That's what I feel like doing today. So I'm just gonna keep it in this sort of area. Bubble Net. Staining doesn't really bother me all too much, to be honest, just because I always pretty much wear eyeshadow the next day anyway. Obviously, if you don't want an eyeshadow that stains, these are probably not going to be for you. I mean, blues can tend to stain. Like if I'm thinking about a blue that stains on my eyelids pretty badly, the Pat McGrath Ultraviolet Pigment does, and I love that blue. And it doesn't really deter me from wearing it, to be honest. Love that shade, but it's not something I wear all the time. Okay, next, I'm gonna add some of the shade Reef, and that is the lighter green. Very pretty green color. I'm just gonna add it in the same areas. Just gonna layer that on top of what we've done in the same sort of halo shape. Just gonna go back in with the other brush just to blend out the edges. I do feel like this shade is a little tricky to blend, and I do find in general forest greens can sometimes be kind of hit and miss. Like this shade, Bubble Net, kind of reminds me of the one from Colored Rain, which I also had trouble with. So you kind of just need to take your time a little bit more with shades like this. I want to add some of Kelp as well, but where to add it, I'm not sure. I might add a little bit into the crease as well, just kind of above where I'm going to put, I think, a metallic shade. I'm blending it out with Bubble Net. I love that kelp has that hint of yellow in it. I think that it's a nice kind of undertone to that green. I think I'm gonna take splash on the center and then maybe add a little bit of Whalesong. I'm gonna try it with a dry brush first. Goes on pretty nicely with a dry brush, actually. It's a beautiful emerald green. And I'm gonna add a little bit of Whalesong on the center. Same brush, just color switching it, just layering that on top. This shade is very pretty. Okay, lower lash line. I'm gonna do the same sort of pattern where I add bubble in it and then gradiate that with a lighter green shade. These shades are so pigmented. You really don't need very much. Then I'm gonna add Reef. Same brush. And then finally a little bit of kelp. I think that's really pretty. And you know what? I do kind of want to add a bit of like a cool multi-chrome liner, so I think I'm gonna do that. Actually, I've changed my mind. I'm gonna do a gradient liner instead. And I'm gonna use these 3 shades. I've got this one from Dior in a green color. This is 461, 296, which is a navy blue, and then the Real Lasting eyeliner from One Day Tattoo. It's Japanese brand, it's black liner. Because I've been really into kind of gradiating my liquid liner, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to start with the green, the lighter shade here. And I'm not sure if it's going to show up too well, but we'll see. I don't get a whole lot of use out of these liners, so I do kind of want to make the most of them. Then I'm going to go in with the blue. And then finally with the black. I'm just going to create a small wing. Well, hopefully what will be a small wing. And I'm not sure if you can really see the gradation. It's very subtle. So I've got my mascara on. I do want to add this Makeup Monsters highlighter. It's a green highlighter. I thought, let's just do some green on the cheeks because I said I was going to keep this and I haven't used it since. So today is the day I'm going to use it. And I'm just going to pat that on with my finger. It's actually surprisingly a pretty green highlighter that I don't think looks weird on my complexion. I actually featured this in my highlighter declutter / inventory, and I said I was going to declutter it, but then I looked back at the footage and I was like, I really like this green highlighter, as weird as it is. It's an old one from Makeup Monsters, so it's no longer available, but it actually works on my skin tone for some weird reason, so I'm keeping it. I'm going to use it today, finally. I don't really add a lot of brow bone highlight, but I think I might today. Why not? Since we're going that extra mile. Blend that brow bone highlighter out. Did take a little bit too much, but like I said, I don't usually do brow bone highlight, but we're gonna just go all out today. And I think a little bit on the inner corner. And I think that's look because my battery is running out. I really love the greens here and the blues. Whalesong is gorgeous. And yeah, I think this is a very nice blue palette if you are loving greens and blues. So far I've been really enjoying it, although I feel like every look I've done is quite dramatic. I do feel like this is more of a statement, you know, makeup palette rather than, you know, something that you just put on every day. For me, this is more of a kind of a weekend palette rather than something that I grab for when I, you know, am getting ready for work. I don't really match today because I wasn't really planning on feeling anything, but I thought I'd just play with it just because why not? And I've just got lip balm on because I can't be bothered today. I can't be bothered. I'm wearing this Pat McGrath overpriced lip balm. I mean, it's good, but it's expensive. And then I'm also actually wearing the new Pat McGrath foundation today. This is the second time I've worn it. I will be getting a video out about this foundation once I get the whole kit. So far, I don't mind it. Is it a 90 Aussie dollar? I think it was about 90 to $100. Depending on where you get it from. Is it worth that much? I don't know, because I've got this Suku one, which it kind of seems very similar to this, and this is $60. So I'm not sure whether I'd pay the extra 30 for the Pat McGrath one. But again, I haven't used it all that much, so, you know, it looks fine, but I don't necessarily think it's worth the money so far, but we'll see. I hope you're liking this second look. I think I'm gonna do another one with this palette as well. So I am gonna do my third and final look with the Whalesong palette, and I think I'm gonna do a blue smoky eye today. I just really want to do a smoky eye just with blues. So I'm gonna try and use some of the blues that I haven't used yet. I'm gonna take a Hakuhodo J5523 brush and I'm gonna add the shade Cetacean. It's a nice baby blue shade actually. I'm gonna take that into the crease. I don't often go for shades like this. This is definitely quite out of my comfort zone. Also, last night I did wear that eyeshadow look out. And I wore it for about 6 hours. There was some creasing on one eye, this eye more than the other. But when I did take it off, I wore it for 6 hours. I didn't notice there to be any staining. Now I do use the Clinique Take the Day Off Remover, and I find that to be a really great oil remover for very, very stubborn makeup. But I didn't notice really any staining. Maybe it just depends on how long you wear it, and maybe some of these shades also stain compared to others, I'm not sure. That is super blue. It really kind of reminds me of like a vintage blue color. I think this color would look great with like a really bright orange lip, but we are going to cover this up with some darker blues. I'm going to go in with Barnacle, and this is kind of like a steel blue. I'm going to put that into the outer V. I do really enjoy blues because I find them to be very flattering with brown eyes, especially deep blues. I'm going to sweep that on the mobile lid as well. These are all very super pigmented, like you really don't need very much to get full opacity. And now I'm going to add the deepest blue just on the outer V, and that is Breaching, which is this blue here. I kind of wish this navy blue was slightly deeper. Like I feel like it doesn't go on super dark. This shade kind of looks a little deeper in the pan than it does when it goes on the eyelid. Take a blending brush and just blend out the edges. Now I'm going to add a bit of black liner, but I'm going to smudge it out and just keep it. I'm not going to wing it or anything like that. I'm using the Marc Jacob black liner, which I like. I know a few of you did mention that you didn't like this because it dries out super quickly. I have noticed that, you know, it probably does start drying out as you get to the bottom of it, but I do use this eyeliner every day, and it lasts pretty well for 3 months until it gets near the end and it kind of needs to get replaced. I like it because it just stays on the eyes. And then I'm going to also take it on the lower lash line as well and in the waterline, and then I'll smudge it out as well. I feel like if you're not very good at liner, this is kind of a good way to do it, because then you can kind of just go in with a brush and smudge it out if it gets too messy. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now I do kind of want to add a little bit of that navy blue on the lower lash line as well, but I don't want it to blow out too much, so I'm going to be really careful with where I place it. Smudge it out with my finger. I'm going to add a smidge, just a smidge of Pearl in the inner tear duct. Not use this shade yet. It is quite flaky, so just be careful getting it in your eye like I did. So this is the final look. I have added mascara as usual and some lipstick. This is Chanel 35 Rouge Cocoa Flash Chicness, and I really like this lipstick because it's very nourishing. My lips are quite dry and it's a nice nude lipstick. I feel like every look that I've done with it, except maybe the first, has been quite dramatic. I think that this kind of palette is in some ways a little bit hard to tone down just because the shades are so pigmented and quite you know, punchy blue colors and green colors. So yeah, let me know what you think of this look. So now let's get into my thoughts on this palette. I was so excited to get it because I have been really into blues and greens lately. I think that this palette definitely does deliver some interesting blue and green shades. If you are into blues and greens, this is a palette for you because there's so many gorgeous ones, and they're kind of like not run-of-the-mill blues and greens, like this gorgeous kind of kelp with the green, but it's got a tinge of that yellow. I think makes it really unique. It's definitely for the more adventurous makeup lover, because I don't think that, you know, if you're kind of new into makeup, you're gonna immediately gravitate towards this kind of palette. So I definitely think it's probably more for people that enjoy a lot of color. Pretty much most of the looks that I can conceive in my mind are quite bold and, yeah, definitely more of a statement eye look than a wearable eye look, maybe like the first one was, where I added some browns into it. Because I definitely think that if you want to use these kind of colors and you want to wear it in a more conservative way, you probably are going to have to bring some brown, some earthiness to it. The mattes are they're super pigmented and opaque. They do take a little bit to blend out, I feel, and you can go overboard pretty quickly. So just be careful of that. I think the shimmers, Whalesong, my goodness, this is such a beautiful blue shade. It's stunning. I think the only one I haven't used actually is Fluke, but these two are beautiful. I didn't use a wet brush, I didn't use a glitter glue, and they go on really nicely. Pearl I feel is like more glittery. It definitely had a bit of fallout. I think the powders are quite powdery themselves. I'm a tapper rather than a swell or anything like that. and I tend to just tap a little bit with my brush and then just put my eyelids, just because I don't really want to put too much eyeshadow pigment onto my brush before going in, because then I find that sometimes I will have to take more time to blend and everything. And like I said, because they are very pigmented, you can go overboard really quickly. So I don't think this is necessarily the most beginner friendly eyeshadows. You might need to take more time with it. In terms of longevity, I don't think these last the longest on my eyelids. I definitely noticed a bit of creasing, and I did even notice that there is a little bit of skipping, so I did have to go over the blues a little bit, but just because I have quite a lot of texture on my eyelids. If you have like a really smooth eyelid, maybe this you have no problem. If you have, you know, dry eyelids, maybe you'll have no problem, but I do have oily eyelids that are textured, so I do often find that not all eyeshadows last the whole day with me. I'm kind of used to eyeshadows doing that on me, so it's not a big deal unless there is major creasing, major fading, which I didn't find there was with these eyeshadows. I feel like Menagerie Cosmetics have done something really different with their color stories. It's such a nice, unique palette, so I'm really happy to have this in my collection. The only downside that I foresee if you don't live in the US is the shipping. The shipping is really expensive to Australia, somewhere in the ballpark of $35, 35 Australian dollars. But yeah, I mean, I really like what Menagerie Cosmetics is doing. I think that this palette, along with some of the other palettes they've released recently, look gorgeous. So yeah, I have been really enjoying this palette, and I think, again, the customer service was great for sending me a new palette that the shades weren't broken in, so I'm really happy about that. I feel like I'm definitely like the last person to have talked about these eyeshadows, just because I'm in Australia and it was a pre-order and it took a while to get to me. But yeah, hopefully you found this useful. Let me know in the comments below which one was your favorite look, and if you've picked up this palette, are you interested in this brand? Yeah, I just think they're doing some great things. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.